Wow.
Well, we want to get to know the real Jesse Morales, since we know you're the real deal, right?
Oh, yeah.
And not the mistaken murderer.
No way.
And you had a pretty
There's cops circling the building right now.
You had a pretty interesting upbringing, right? In fact, I heard something about your father was in the Mexican mafia.
Yeah.
Tell us about your life. Growing up.
My dad was in the Mexican mafia, drug dealer, did a lot of bad stuff, beat my mom down, beat her all the time. Thank God by the time I grew up, my dad was pretty much out of it, gave his life to Christ.
Oh, wow.
But for me, because he was an alcoholic, everything he did, I said I'd never do, but I eventually did it.
Oh.
And check this out, even after my high school graduation, the next day I get back from grad night or whatever, the phone rings. It's my uncle's in Mexico seeing if I want to join the family business. Being an enforcer, making like a couple grand a week. And at first I'm like, oh Lord, I don't think I'm gonna go to ministry now, give me some cash. But I didn't, But yeah, it was a trip.
That's probably a good thing that you did.
But I didn't actually find out the whole mafia thing until that point. That's when the whole truth came out about my whole family, how it's like. And I was like, man, it was crazy. It's crazy.
I'm sure that's something that would shake your faith now. How did you get there to doing ministry and obviously, securing your faith?
Well, for me, my parents did the best to bring me up in church. My dad gave his life to Christ, which was great. But they forced me to go to church. I didn't like going to church. I just went because my mom was a big Mexican lady. I was afraid of her. She beat me up.
Don't mess with mom.
Yeah, she rolled me up like a burrito and eat me. But I did stuff I shouldn't have done. Turned to alcohol, violence, the whole thing. Put myself in a situation where, when that storm came in my life, I started collapsing, and I attempted suicide twice at the age of 16.
Whoa.
And that still didn't change me. But eventually, God was always there for me. He never leave you or forsake you, like the word says. Eventually, by the time I got out of high school, that was a wake-up call, that phone call, But I just wanted to work with youth. That's all I ever wanted to do is work with youth. And then it was when I was 18 years old, I got to take some kids to youth convention, even though I didn't want to. I was just doing it just to get brownie points at my first Assembly of God church I went to growing up, just to look good. But after coming back, I was like, man, this is what I want to do. Just all the impact that God did with these kids and how God used me, a sinner. I was even right with God at the time, just to help these kids grow, man. And the rest is history, man.
Well, tell us more about this idea of cracks in our faith, because that's the question we're discussing, and I know you have very strong opinions on this. What does it mean?
Well, honestly, if you go back to the book of Matthew, talking about the wise man and the foolish man, and the way I like to bring it out, this little illustration is about this gentleman, has his house, and he really realized that there's cracks going on through his whole house, so he calls his handyman to come in. The guy comes in, patches it up, paints it, he's done. Well, the cracks reappear again, and next thing you know, he calls another handyman in. Handyman comes back in, patches up, does the whole thing. A couple weeks later, the cracks come back. This time he's getting frustrated and hires a local guy who's got a good rep. The guy comes in, looks at it, and he tells the gentleman, he goes, you know what, bro, I can't touch your house, man. So what do you mean the other guys have? He goes, yeah, those other guys have covered the cracks. They just covered the surface. Your problem's not with the cracks. The problem's with the foundation in your house. Wow. Your house has shifted over all the years with all these storms and just the age of it that your cracks are there. So until you change the foundation of your house, those cracks are going to stop appearing. So for me, growing up in life, I had tons of cracks. I had so many cracks, but growing up in a church, even though I was living the wrong way and the wrong life, I was covering up. But when them storms came, the storm came in my life, my thing was suicide, and the truth about me was revealed.
Like one thing in my life, like when my foundation gets a little rocked or whatever, I think another big thing for kids out there to really understand is that to rebuild foundation, you need to be in a position where God can use you, where God can strip away all the stuff that you have going, all the worldly things that you have going from you. You know what I mean? The foundation starts when you're at your last resort kind of thing. You know what I mean? And that's where you really come to know God and come to know where your foundation is in God and through God. And you know what I mean? Just not having all that baggage, not having all that stuff is when it's just you and God. You know what I mean? That's really, like, for me in my own life, that's how I know where my foundation is and where to build my foundation, so that when I can build upon that, and I see cracks in little parts of my life, I can tear those things away and realize where my foundation is. But like I said, I'm not the expert. You're the expert. But in my own life, that's what I've.
Well, you hit it on the nail, man. it's like taking out garbage. You know, if you don't, as teenagers, we don't want to take out the garbage. We just leave it there because we're lazy. You know, but the more you leave the garbage up, the more it's going to stink, and the harder it is to get rid of that smell. It's the same way in our lives. Daily, we got to take that garbage out, man. Yeah, for me, daily, I'm on my hands and knees saying, God, forgive me for what I've done, man. Just give me the wisdom and knowledge to get to this today. You know, because God didn't promise tomorrow or next week. He only promised today. Yeah. You know, so for me, I'm on my knees and reading the Bible daily. Just prayer. It's just not. I do devotion once a week and that's it. For me, it's daily, man. You know, it's daily.